our information. So this is part one of the Seal Watch training. Our speakers today are Kathy Johnson and Justin Lindenberg, of the Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods. And our agenda is we're going to start off with welcome and introductions in a few minutes here. And if everybody's okay with it, I'd really like to go around the room and ask a question that we can all share with each other. Then Justin will speak, and then Kathy will speak. We'll take a break, and then it will be my turn. So the first question I'd really like to ask is if we could go around, and I can call on people. I'll stop screen sharing so I can see our speakers again, but I'd really like to ask for your name and then what interests you the most about Seal Watch. And maybe if you'd like to, where you're located. I know some of us are pretty local and some of us are making a drive to come out and do this kind of volunteer work. So it's really exciting, but if that's okay, I'll start with my introduction. My name is Claire. I'm the program coordinator for Seal Watch. This will be my first full year doing it. I did join last year, mid-year. My history, I was born and raised here in Sonoma County, but I went to school for education, and then after the fires, ended up joining in construction for the rebuild. I started free diving off the coast here. Maybe some of you know that there's an urchin explosion in population, and a lot of recreational divers and scuba divers are going out there just to get them out of the water so that they stop reproducing, and we give the kelp forests a chance to regrow. So I started doing that, and I'd come up on the beaches with bags full of urchin. People would come up and start to talk to me, ask me what the heck was going on, what I was doing. And I'd find myself giving these little impromptu presentations on the beach. And I figured if I was going to keep doing that, I should probably learn a little bit more about what I was talking about. And that brought me to the Marine Mammal Center, which I know some of you are familiar with, but maybe not everybody. It is the largest marine mammal hospital in the world. We are based in Sausalito. I have been there for a couple of years now. I work there and I volunteer there with the harbor seal population, so rescue and rehabilitation of harbor seal pups. And then I came to Seal Watch. So I really like to share my story just because I don't think a lot of people have this misconception that you have to have this really formal scientific or environmental background to make a difference in ocean conservation or this kind of field. And I just like to say that I did not, and I still ended up here. And I had a really, quite a journey to get here. But I'm just so appreciative of everybody from every kind of background that comes, because I think we make our culture richer and we make the field itself richer if we bring a lot of diversity in experiences. So that's a little bit about me, and what I love about Seal Watch is the community. I think just the people that are willing to come out here and protect this awesome population of seals in our own backyard and protect the environment and really steward this population to the public and engage in education and sharing information. It's a really beautiful thing to see. So if it's all right with everybody, I'm just going to call on people in the order I see you on my screen. And again, the question is your name, what interests you most about Seal Watch, and if you're willing to share, maybe where you're based. So the first person I see is Kathy with a K.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I've been with Seal Watch for quite a while. I took a little break a year, but what I enjoy most about Seal Watch is I live here in Santa Rosa, so getting out to the ocean is a great motivator for me to get out to the ocean and then interact with the community that comes to Goat Rock, and I enjoy it.
Thank you. I should have shared my location too. I am also based in Santa Rosa, so it's a bit of a drive to me, but to me it is so worth it, and it's beautiful, so I can't complain. Next, Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony Lordi. I live in Santa Rosa, and I've been with Seal Watch for about a year. Probably my biggest interest, other than being wrangled by Debbie Brooks and Carol Hughes into this, is protecting the coastline. I love the ocean. I love being out there, and I like making an effort towards making it a better place.
Sounds like we might have a new recruit for the ropes team, possibly. Lorena. Lorena, are you able to share? Oh, yeah.
I'm here.
Perfect. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Maybe she doesn't hear me. Lorena?
Oh.
You're muted.
Hi there.
There's somebody else on my screen that's all I see right now is a lovely woman with a state park hat on. That's her.
Yes. Can you hear me
So
now?
that's who I'm seeing right now. I don't know who you guys are seeing.
Wow. I
I'm
see you. And
But
I'm
I'm Lorena.
Hi, Lorena.
Hello. And I live part-time in Bodega Bay and part-time in Sebastopol. How lucky am I?
Yeah.
And I just love Seal Watch. I did it last year. I just have lived out on the coast for over 25 years. I kind of know it by the back of my hand. And so it was really a great experience for me to actually be able to do something to protect the seals. And I've been saving a lot of birds lately on the coast. Sadly, they're getting caught in crab snares. But that's kind of what I've been doing is some bird rescues while I'm waiting for my next round of seal watch. Got to do a seal rescue with the Marine Mammal Center, and that was really, really exciting and wonderful. And so I'm looking forward to another year.
Thank you so much. And just for anybody who's interested, Lorena, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, there should be a little box that says view, and it'll give you the option to see speakers or gallery view. I'm in gallery view, so I could see everybody. But if you wanted to toggle it with that,
Yeah, no, I can see everybody and you as the speaker. It's just when the other woman came on, she was my main
just
screen.
click over. Right.
My hat.
Ideal. All right. And then the next person I see is Justin B. I don't want to butcher your name.
Yeah, thanks. It's Berthium. Hey, everybody. Good to meet y'all. I'm new here. Actually new to Sonoma County in the past year. I moved up from San Francisco, and I'm transitioning to into a new career, I think. I was teaching environmental science for high schoolers for a long time. And so my goals for this is to learn about the Sonoma Coast and the ecosystem here, but also lend my skills of teaching, and connecting the public with science, and also meet the people that are doing this work like y'all. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. We are so glad to have you. This is so exciting. Mindy?
Hi, everybody. I live in Forestville, and welcome San Francisco, where I left San Francisco 6 years ago to be up here. And I don't know a whole lot about Seal Watch. What I have been doing is when I lived in San Francisco, I volunteered for NOAA's Citizen Science Project, which people know that project is an amazing project. Seal is just taking care of the research data for protecting marine mammals, and I've been like looking all around for some replica of that, and like finally found this flyer. So I actually don't know. I just know it says there's like cute seals, Seal Watch. So I'm like, well, I don't know. So you'll have to tell me what's going on so I can tell you what I might like.
Perfect. Well, hopefully we'll cover that for you today. And we will have a part 2 of the training on Sunday, February 4th. So if you make it through this meeting and are still interested and want to join us out there, I think that's the nitty gritty and the really fun part to me. So Christine, next. Christine, you're muted. Sorry, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Okay, how about now? Claire?
Good.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Sorry about that. I thought I had. My name's Chris, and I live in Occidental. And I've been here for about 7 years. I moved here from outside of Philadelphia. And when I lived back east, I volunteered for the Philadelphia Zoo in the Children's Zoo, which was a great experience. I've always loved volunteering, and I'm embarrassed to say that living 8 miles from the coast, I wasn't getting out there enough. So when I saw the flyer to join Seal Watch last year, I thought, you know what? This was the perfect opportunity. I could come out, I could actually engage with the public and teach them about, the coast and the environment that we have here, and what a great place we have to have this whole, seal colony here. and learn a bit about it myself. So it's been a win-win. I love getting out there, even when the weather's really cold and it's windy, but it's so great to meet all of the people that come here from all over the world just to see something that's in our backyard.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thank you so much. Debbie Brooks.
Hi, I'm Debbie Brooks, and I live in Cazadero, which is pretty close to the coast. I'm a retired school teacher. So between getting out in nature and also being able to meet people, which I love people, and I'm a kind of a teacher all the time anyway, so I like being a docent. This will be my 3rd year.
And Debbie's on the ropes team as well, and I'm hoping we can keep her there this year, but that's a very important role, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So Harriet Postuma?
Yes, hi. So my name is Harriet. I live in Filigrande or Monterio, 15 minutes from the coast. I started a year ago. Love it. Was way more than I expected. I retired a couple of years ago and was, yeah, so I love the seals and during the year, I see that more and more I get interested in knowing all about the seals. So yeah, I don't know. I love it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's fantastic. Kimberly and David?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Kimberly. David, our dog. Well, I'm from California, born and raised in San Francisco. We've been traveling for 2 years and ended up here in Rio Negro. Lived by Ocean Beach for quite some time, so I love the ocean. I love animals. I love volunteering. So coming here, I wanted to see, again, we saw the flyer and it sounded amazing. I'm also a holistic trichologist, so I'm a hair scientist. So I study all the natural things, and this just seemed like such a wonderful thing to volunteer for. So thanks. David.
My name's David. I'm from Baltimore originally, but I've lived in California for 20 years now. Again, we lived in Ocean Beach, San Francisco for 10 years. So we spent a lot of time at the beach, and, you know, I just love animals, period. I'm a big animal lover. I love studying them. I love helping them. I love being around them. So this just sounds great to me.
Perfect. Thank you and welcome. And that dog is so cute. That teddy
Thank you.
adorable. Suzanne, I think you're next.
I'm gonna turn that.
Unmuting here. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm not seeing myself on camera. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, not sure why camera's on. So yeah, I have been coming to Cazadero my whole life, moved up here full-time last fall. And I guess about a year ago, I got involved with Seal Watch, did a few sessions out on the beach. My background is in environmental protection and environmental education. And right now I volunteer out at the Jenner Visitor Center. So I'm there every week, and I'm primarily interested in helping to staff the table so I can go to Jenner that much more. Yay!
Perfect. Thank you. We're excited to have you.
Thank
Lori
you.
Mental?
Am I on? I can't, I have to find myself.
You sure are.
Oh, good. I'm not muted. Okay. My name is Lori. And I'm a docent for Armstrong Redwoods, which is really fun. I've just begun doing that, and it's fantastic. And also am a whale watch volunteer coming up. I had been through the training, and I retired as a school occupational therapist about a year ago. I wanted to decide what I wanted to do and follow my passions for volunteering. And Stewards of the Coast was like the thing. So now I'm in everything and trying to figure out which one, you know, I can best serve at. And Seal Watch is just like my favorite thing to do when I go to dinner. So I'm like, yeah, I want to protect those little guys and especially the babies and find out more about how I can help in a positive way so that we don't run visitors off who have their dog in the wrong place or go beyond the ropes and the rules, but do it in a way that helps them understand why we have those things in place. So excited to be part of it.
We love that. Thank you so much. Next, I have Dorothy Rupert, but I happen to know that's Bill on screen right there.
Right. This computer is my wife's computer, so it often comes up under Dorothy. Yeah, so I'm Bill Rupert here, and we moved here from Sacramento the year 2000 and got involved with the Stewards right away. So I've been out there a long time, and it brings, even though we only live in Guerneville, which is close to the coast, Seal Watch really brings me out there, and I love it out there. I love meeting the people, the visitors, and working with them, and working with wonderful people with Seal Watch. And just hearing everyone today just gets me all optimistic and enthusiastic about the new season coming up. And thinking of the early years when we generally had at least 2 people at one time out there at Seal Watch, but since we haven't had that pleasure of having that many volunteers, so you're out there yourself. So, and even though it can get a little cold out there sometimes, to me it's just wonderful. And I'm every year when the training comes around, I just come to the training because it gets me going. And so I'm looking forward to this season, and good to see you all, and hope I'll meet you again besides just on this computer.
Thank you so much, Bill. I can't wait to see you out there too. We have a lot to look forward to, I think.
Yes.
All right, Wendy Ziegler is next.
Hi, I'm Wendy Ziegler, and I live in Guerneville. And I've been I did Seal Watch. I started during COVID, so we didn't have to carry anything out to the beach at that time. We didn't have many visitors, but we got more and more people out there at that year than I've probably ever seen on Goat Rock. It just seemed like everybody was going to the beach during COVID. So it was really interesting to try to educate the people on how to respect the seals and the life that we have out there. I've been going to Blind Beach quite a bit with my neighbor and her dog, and I try to tell people who have dogs, hey, we have a beach right across the parking lot that is specifically for dogs and why they shouldn't have dogs on Goat Rock. But I have really found it interesting. And I live right in Guerneville, so I've been going out to the beach for quite a bit, and it's really fun to go out and watch the harbor seals. And I take all my visitors, I'm from Pennsylvania too, Christine, and anytime visitors come out, I take them out to see the harbor seals, and everybody's very impressed that we live out here in this beautiful area. So
yeah,
looking forward to another year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a treasure, and we are so lucky to have everybody here that's so willing to share it and engage like that. So thank you so much. Next on my screen is Megan Gatlin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Gatlin, and apologies for not having my camera on. I'm a little under the weather, but wanted to make sure I could still join the call. So my husband and I moved to Monte Rio in 2020 with our 2 dogs, and we're currently fostering a third. I'm transitioning my career from tech into the nonprofit space. So I'm actually on the board with the Friends of Monte Rio, and I put on the annual Rio Fest every year. And actually last year, Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods was one of the community booths that we had. And we had 25 community booths, mostly nonprofits from all over Sonoma County. And so I've gotten more involved kind of at that level. And so I'm on the mailing list for this organization. So when I saw the Seal Watch program, I definitely wanted to check it out, not only to get more involved in kind of the nature side of it and to learn about other programs that you all are doing, but also just to get out into the community and meet more of you. So I'm really looking forward to the February session, and thanks for having me today.
Thanks for joining. That's so exciting. I think it sounds like such a great group. Next is Jessica Mahaley.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm out. I'm almost home. My name is Jessica. I also live in Monte Rio and Villa Grande, and this will be my second year with Seal Watch. And it is so exciting to be out at the coast and meet people who are coming from all over the world who are just in awe of where we live. And it's an amazing reminder of what an incredible natural resource we have and where we live. And yeah, so I'm excited to participate again. I was also trained in whale watch, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to balance the two and figure out the schedules, but very happy to be here.
Thank you. And that looks like a lovely walk that you're on. The next one on my screen is Doug.
Good morning and hello to everyone. I've never used Zoom on this computer, so I hope it works. Yes? All right. Hi, Justin.
Yes, we can hear.
So yeah, I'm living on the estuary, and I've been out in this area for about 5 decades, and now I have some free time and wanted to help along as much as I could. Thank you.
Thank you so much and welcome. Erica?
Hey, sorry, I'm not really great at technology. Hi, this is my second year. I have my background's in food and beverage, and I'm currently in the wine industry. I wanted to diversify my life, so I enjoyed going out to the coast. I felt like Seal Watch was a good thing. I found the program through Blinked Cafe Aquatica, so that's kind of how I'm in it. So I don't know what else to say, so thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. And Erica is primarily responsible for putting all those flyers up. So for those of you who found us through those flyers, excellent job, Erica. Thank you so, so much. That's perfect. And then last but not least, the final two that I'm hoping to introduce themselves are Justin and Kathy. They are also our speakers today. So I will start with Justin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Lindenberg. I'm the Executive Director of Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods. It's really lovely to see everyone today. I live in Monte Rio, following the prompt, and what I'm most interested about in Seal Watch is that the resilience of the rookery is matched by the people that participate in this program. So I look at people like, Bill and Claire, that have been going to the beach for such a long time. And, Seal Watch is a unique program in itself, and Goat Rock Beach can be a difficult environment at times. But it's just so inspiring to see people that are dedicated to it and that care about it and that, put their passion to work by showing up and being out there and making sure that people know about it and why it's important through this outreach and education program.
Yeah, thank you. And then Kathy Johnson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Johnson. I'm on the board of directors for Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods, and I also work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as an environmental contaminant specialist. So my job has me all over California, so I know the really great places, and the Sonoma Coast is a treasure. And I grew up surfing Salmon Creek, skiing, and also skiing in the Sierra. I grew up in the Sierra foothills, and right now I split my time between Bodega Bay, Salmon Creek, and Auburn in the Sierra foothills. But I probably spend 60 to 70% of my time on the Sonoma Coast, because that's where we're slowly making the move. But I have to be, for my job, unfortunately, I have to be in Sacramento a couple of days a month.
Thank you so much. All right, well, everybody, welcome. I am so glad to see you here. And again, I hope we can keep your interest through to the 4th, when we will be meeting in person on the beach, and we'll cover a lot of what we're going to see out there today. And then beyond that, we'll also have a meetup, a little social meetup at one of the cafes out in Duncan's Mills, really close to Jenner, at the Gold Coast Cafe and Bakery. So I'm hoping everybody can make it there too. But now I would like to hand it over to Justin to get us started with his talk.
Hi, everyone. Hi again. Really excited to be with everyone here today. I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to give you an intro to Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods. That's one hat. I'm going to show you show you how to become a volunteer if you're new. That's another hat. And then I'm going to show you how to sign up for a Seal Watch shift online. So this is getting a little bit ahead of the interesting talk that Claire has about the seals and why they're important. But this is also important information, and I'll try to run through it quickly. And I wish I could join for the whole thing. I have to leave a little bit early to go set up for another event. So who is Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods? Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods, our mission is to protect the natural and cultural resources of Armstrong Redwoods State Natural Reserve, Austin Creek State Recreation Area, and Sonoma Coast State Park through volunteerism, environmental education, and stewardship for generations to come. Seal Watch is one of our many coastal programs. At Bodega Head, we do whale watch. Along the coast, we do seabird monitoring. We do tide pool education. We also do trail crew.
Are you sharing a screen right now? Because I don't believe we can see it.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But can you can hear me, but my video looks frozen on my screen.
Yes,
So,
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a tech issue. Perfect. Thank you.
yeah, glitchy internet living in Monterey. So that's who Stewards is, and it's really wonderful to see people with us today that have been with us for a very long time. It's wonderful to see people that act in different capacities with different programs. Cross-pollination is really wonderful, and it's great to see new people as well. So Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods, volunteerism, environmental education, and stewardship. So the volunteerism is a super important component to what we do. We could not do what we do without the support of volunteers. In terms of being a public-facing organization, it's really the volunteers that shine through in interacting with the public. We support California State Parks. So this is a California State Parks volunteer program, which means that there are some paperwork and requirements associated with that. So at this point, I'm going to share my screen and get people started on that. So how to become a volunteer. We're going to go to stewardscr.org. And this is really just for new folks, getting you oriented in becoming a volunteer. Volunteering with Stewards, and especially with the Seal Watch program, it's I like to think of it as a journey. So there's you have to start somewhere, and really the best place to start is by getting out and shadowing more experienced people and learning about it that way. Coming out on February 4th for the in-person training. Again, the best thing that you can do. Once you're ready to sign up for an official shift, we have to get you set up with paperwork. And so to do that, you go to the Stewards website, you go to volunteer opportunities. I sent this out in an email yesterday as well. The Stewards website, volunteer opportunities, and then scroll down to the new onboarding packet. So this is just a small packet of information to fill out before starting in an official capacity. And again, you can shadow before this. We have 2 wonderful support staff that help people through this process of essentially filling out the paperwork. Their names are Amelia Shaw, who works for California State Parks, and then Bette Merritt, who works for Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods. If you want help or you don't want to do this online, come into the office. Our office is in the back of Armstrong Redwoods. Everybody that comes in to fill out paperwork with Bette gets a cup of coffee. She makes it real strong, and she'll help walk you through the paperwork. And we have some patches and name tags for people when they get through this step. So I did an intro, I did a becoming a volunteer, and then last but not least, how do you sign up for a Seal Watch shift? So this is getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but wanted to do a preview, and we'll also follow up with this training with an email that has this information on how to sign up for a shift. But I wanted to orient folks through the two ways that I know best to do this. And at first, I'll show you the long way, and then I'll show you my shortcut. But so again, Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods website. What are you trying to do? You're trying to shadow a shift. You're trying to sign up for a shift. We have a reservation system to sign up for shifts called Team Up. It's an online calendar. Anybody can sign up. It can be a little bit difficult to navigate too, but we send the links out with pretty often to the group email. There's a group email for Seal Watch volunteers. But so we're on the website now. You can go to volunteer, again, volunteer opportunities. And then you have to click on Sonoma Coast. And then Seal Watch. So that was 2 clicks. And I can be kind of lazy sometimes. So I'll show you the other way to do it. So I'm going to open another tab, just a Google window. And I just type into that Seal Watch, Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods, and it takes you, the first thing that pops up is our Seal Watch page. It's got lots of information on it. Meeting times, we're going to start in March and go through Labor Day. We have shifts at Goat Rock and Jenner. And there's calendar instructions for volunteers to sign up for shifts. Then you sign up for shifts through Team Up. There's a video that I made that shows how to sign up for shifts. There's written instructions below that, but I'll just show you how to do it briefly. Sign up for shifts through Team Up. And I'm so excited. I had a nice time at this training today. I got to meet David Berman and learn about interpretation and some nice lifeguards. So I'm going to sign up for the first shift at the boat launch. And this is the same view that you'll see when you come to the site and click through these links. Again, we'll provide more instruction later. But to sign up, you write your full name, email, and then phone number.
Careful, because I'm going to hold you to this shift, Justin.
I also act as the IT guy for Stewards. So we have staff that support folks that need to figure this out. But you can see that the sign up was successful, and then I'll just click on it, and you can see that it shows my name and then my email, my phone number, and I put my email and my phone number in my full name line. There's just use the first box. And what this allows people to do is, there's kind of ship leads, and they'll reach out to people in case there's adverse weather and things need to get canceled. And it's also a really nice way, if you're new and you've never done a shift before and you're trying to find somebody to shadow, a lot of times we'll email out ahead of the weekend who you could sign up to be with. There's lots of people on this meeting right now that would be awesome people to shadow. Don't need to say names, but to coordinate in that way and to say, hey, I'm new, and this is the day that I'd like to shadow, and look forward to seeing you out there. It's good to connect ahead of the weekend, and then a lot of times we'll send out reports after the weekend on what we saw and what happened. So I gave you an intro to Stewards, talked about how to become a volunteer and sign up for a shift. I would love to, if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about those 3 things, I'm here, and I appreciate you for being here too. Lori.
Yeah, Justin, I just wanted to know if we say sign up for a shift and then we find out there's an emergency and we can't make it, how do we not cancel? Or should we
If
get into
the-
that later?
If there's an emergency and you can't make it,
Yeah.
focus on what your emergency is about and really don't worry about it. If you have the ability to, if it's less of an emergency and just something comes up and you're not able to, you can't actually cancel in the team sign up. So you just have to email stewards@stewardscr.org and we'll cancel it for you. And Claire and myself and other staff, we all have this ability to take people, I see the remove button right here.
Oh,
okay.
So
And
we can-
copy me on that so I'm aware. If you are able, if this is an emergency that happens just a few minutes before, then absolutely don't worry about it. But if you have time and you'd like to let Justin and Stewards and I know, then we will take it from there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thanks, Lori.
Justin, would you mind talking a little bit about the perks that Stewards offers for certain hours of volunteering?
Yeah. I won't quote the specific number of hours because it's changed recently. But we're excited that, because this is a California State Park volunteer program, we offer free day use passes for all state parks in the Sonoma Mendocino district for anybody that volunteers for about 50 hours. If you volunteer a lot more hours, 200, you can get a pass to all the parks in the state. Stewards offers a couple benefits, including people that volunteer for 75 plus hours throughout the year get a swag item, long sleeve, short sleeve, or hooded sweatshirt that has our insignia on it. And then we're looking to extend a couple additional benefits as well that are based on hours. And we won't go through recording volunteer hours today. It's a little premature for that. But we'll send out a reminder in a video that shows people how to do that so that you can record your hours and get credit for them with State Parks and Stewards. There's a database to log into, and we have staff that support it as well, making sure that we can get your hours in. What else? Anything?
I think that's all that I had a question about, but thank you so much for your presentation and for helping us and for being available if anybody needs help or to reach out or ask questions about this information. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Claire.
All right. And then I'd like to say that we will have one more speaker this morning, and that's Kathy Johnson. So she's going to take this time to speak. And then after that, we will take a little nature break, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, depending on timing. And then we will get back and get into the nitty gritty of Seal Watch. So Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Claire. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about communications, environmental communications, and climate communication. And it's a little bit about me. So I sit on a lot of task forces and work groups, and I've reviewed and was part of the author for the Department of Interior's Climate Action Plan. I sit on a National Climate Communication Working Group for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to help wildlife professionals talk about climate. It's becoming a political, polarized topic. Just the word climate change, those two words can be very triggering to people. And so Stewards has recognized the need to maybe provide some information to all of our volunteers to help them, maybe guide them through and the support that they'll get when it comes to some of these crucial conversations that can turn rather quickly. And I volunteered for all of the programs that we have. And so I know that Seal Watch is one of the public facing forward programs. You will encounter groups of people, you will encounter individuals, and most of them will be strangers, and a lot of them will not be from the Sonoma Coast. As a matter of fact, probably between the months of June and September, most of the people you'll encounter will be from the Sacramento Valley because they're trying to get out of the heat. And so by engaging with strangers, you don't know where they're coming from, what their information is, what their viewpoints are. And so we want to make sure that there's some caution exercised. And so I have a couple slides. Claire, do you want me to put on my slides or?
Yes, please, if you don't mind. I made you a co-host, so you should
Okay.
be able to do so.
Let me make sure I give you the right screen. So is that the right screen? Yeah.
Climate and environmental communication looks good.
Yeah. I can see a very little one on one of my screens. So these aren't hard and fast rules, and nobody's telling you how to speak or how to present yourself. These are just some guidelines that I have learned. In the course of my 25+ year career with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, implementing the Endangered Species Act, I've become a risk communicator. And so there's some things that I've learned that we want to pass along. And just so you know that this isn't a one-off conversation, we will have, we're putting together some information that's going to be put into the docent manual, and we'll be having separate webinars on this type of communication and getting people comfortable, because not everybody's comfortable talking about climate. There's a disconnect between the science and personal feelings. And when we want to make sure that if a visitor asks you about climate, that you don't panic. If you're comfortable, great. Have your conversation, and even use it as to start a conversation of, you know, what they're seeing out there and their observations on how they think that climate could be affecting the seals. Because specific to this program, there's things that are obvious to some people, but maybe not to others. And so understanding that it's not something that could be just common for somebody who's never experienced the ocean, the beach, or the seals. And that's a time to talk about sea level rise, ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, whatever you're comfortable with. And understand this, nobody's expecting you to be an expert. And the reason you're out there is because you love the seals, you love the coast, and you want people you want to share that passion with them. You want to share that enthusiasm with other people. So just make sure that you're telling your own story. And one thing that I have found is that storytelling is one of the most effective ways to communicate with people. Telling your own story, not gloom and doom, but telling your own story about how the seals, how they make you feel, how the coast makes you feel, and then you can weave in together the different topics that they're bringing up to you. And like the title of this slide, it's not just climate communication, it's environmental communication, because you may be asked about other pollutions like plastic pollution, single-use plastic. And that's a whole other topic that we would get into in a larger webinar. And what we also advise, and this is a strong recommendation, if you are going to talk about climate, if somebody comes up to you and says, how's climate affecting these seals, or climate change? How's it affecting the coast? Try to keep it very local and your examples local. We all know and understand, most of us know and understand the devastation that's happening to polar bears. But we don't have polar bears on the California coast. And there's been numerous sociological and psychological studies that have shown that talking about faraway areas when it comes to issues with the environment, people kind of shut down and they don't find it relevant. And so your conversation could suddenly fall on deaf ears, or maybe even become combative, which that's not, I don't want to say that it will become combative, but that's something that could happen if climate becomes part of the conversation. And so, talk about the seals, and you could talk about, now you can't talk about Arctic ice melting because that is a cause for sea level rise and, temperature changes, how that can affect other regions in the Pacific Ocean. But try to keep it very local to our area, to the Sonoma Coast, and even like the Marin Coast and Mendocino Coast. And one thing that I do try to caution people about also is not, and I mean, you may have noticed that I'm using the word climate instead of climate change. And I don't necessarily want, like, again, we're not telling you how to speak, but if you can maybe drop the change out of climate and just talk about the climate. There's a difference between climate and weather. Climate is basically weather over time, the changes over time. But the climate change can be so politically triggering to people. and emotionally triggering to some people. So that's just a thought and something to think about. And then if you're not really involved with the science of climate change, and you're not really cued in on the scientific data, be careful with that. Just be really careful, because you may come across somebody who may know more than you, may think they know more than you. And I've had this happen. And they can be very disruptive, especially in a group dynamic, because sometimes people want to be seen and want to be heard in ways that that can come off a little more aggressive. And I'm not talking about you all. I'm talking about, maybe the public that comes out to see the seals, and some things can go south pretty quickly. And so, oh, I didn't put it on slide view, so sorry. You're just seeing my edited screen. And then, so the judgmental statements, and again, be mindful of those. And I'm not saying be mindful of your own judgmental statements. Be mindful of the ones that may be coming at you as well. There's a lot. I've been on numerous calls where I've heard people say some very offensive things about people who don't believe in climate change. And people are allowed to think what they want to think and have their viewpoints. They aren't allowed to be offensive, insulting, bullish, pushy. That's when you can disengage. And so that's another thing that we really promote is, if you recognize a conversation getting a little uncomfortable, disengage, shift it back to the cute seals, to the pups, and bring it back, and let your own intuition and your own gut run with that, because there's no script that anybody can give you for these types of really important conversations. But we want to make sure that with everything how it is, climate is such in the forefront. There's a generation that's dealing with it in their, it's something that they're learning in their schools, where when I was in school, I didn't really hear about, climate change too much until I was, in like late high school, early college, and it just was kind of in the background. Now it's in our forefront. It's right there in front of us. So again, just feel the conversation. And I think one of the greatest things, let meeting people where they're at be your superpower. And I know that sounds kind of, slogany, but it's true. If you have a lot of compassion in yourself, and you can understand other people's perspectives, let that be the way that it is, and let it roll with the conversation, because we want to make sure that people walk away from our coast and from our redwoods, from all of our programs, with something like they want to come back, or they want to get involved, or maybe you might even change somebody's viewpoint to where they'll be like, I'm going to go look that up when I get home. You never know with this conversation how it's going to affect somebody. And it does. Almost every conversation you'll have with individuals and groups out there, it'll have an impact on them. They'll go home and they will share it with their family and their friends, or they may reflect on it as they're driving home or as they're walking on the beach. So just remember that you're going to have this really great impact on people, and just, make sure that we want to make sure, and we also want to make sure that your impact, your experience out there is really great too. So we just want to be win-win across that, and make sure that we have, the volunteers that go out and do Seal Watch are equipped and know that they're supported. And if you were to have a conversation that maybe went a little sideways, you're more than welcome to call me or anybody else. I also teach our UC Climate Steward program, which is it's a course that it's kind of a sister program to the Naturalist, but it's a very different program. And we'll be having an introductory webinar on that too. So if you're interested in learning how to discuss climate, environmental issues, and engage with people on not only in a communication, social level, but understand some of the psychology behind it, we highly recommend taking this course. It's rather affordable. It's a college course, so it can be transferred over to your university or college of your choice. It can transfer over to a JC or to the university, because it's a UC, I believe it's a 4-unit course. And again, we'll have an orientation on that. And then if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email's at the bottom of the slide. This is like one of my, I think this is very important that, we have this communication. We don't really need any more scientific data. The it's here, you know, it's bad. There's things we can do. Those are the things that are being said by the large agencies. But what we can do about is we can communicate and find some common ground to make sure that we're not fighting it, because we all have this one thing in common, truthfully, is we all live on this big rock called Earth. And we need more communication and understanding than to talk about, let's say, the science of climate. And that's really all I wanted to share with you today. Again, we're going to have an insert into the docent manual that's going to cover a lot more on this, and it'll have specifics on topic points. And I'll be providing Claire some actual cards that will go into the folder that can be some topic points if you need to shift the conversation. But again, you know, go with your gut and go with whatever comfortable for you, as you're the ones out there reading to people and you have your own experiences and knowledge base. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Justin, I saw your question in the chat, and it looks like Justin answered that there is a data study that's being conducted between Stewards of the Coast and Redwoods and the Sonoma Water, which is through Pinniped Monitoring, which is something that it's a program separate than us, but we do have some overlap. And actually, in my presentation after our break, I'll be talking a little, not so much about the climate, but about other factors that we see, especially at the Marine Mammal Center, that bring these animals into us, that make them, you know, ill or sick, in need of rescue, and they come to us for rehabilitation. So it might not answer your full question about the effect of climate change on the harbor seal population, but it is certainly a factor. And I think I'll answer a little bit of that for you later.
Can I just pipe in on that one question?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of information. It's not necessarily species specific to the seals and the behavior and the survival. There's a lot of nuanced studies, if you will. USGS has done quite a bit of work in the marine protected area. One of the large things that studies is the prey base, because of ocean temperatures and shifting. And what it's doing is it's causing the prey base for the seals, what they eat, to move, to shift. So those are more of the studies. You're not going to see anything really specific that will be directly linked to the seals on our area, but there are nuanced ones, and I can provide the links to those to Claire.
Any other questions for Kathy? Lorena, it looks like you have a question.
It's not really a question, but as Kathy was speaking, she was talking about the importance of local stories versus data. And I happen to live through a very local story, which is, I'm surprised not many people know that the Highway 1 has been moved in. That big bridge is because we've lost so many feet of land on Highway 1. And I used to live there on Gleason Beach when it was a neighborhood. And most people don't know that that was a neighborhood, and that up to 15 houses, you know, are gone now because the earth is gone. So that's all that most of those people are driving over that big bridge, but they don't have any awareness that we've moved Highway 1 in that much. So it's just a really evident effect of the climate change that's local that I just kind of wanted to share with people.
That's a good one, Lorena. Thank you. That's a really good one.
Agreed. All of those personal stories and just our own interactions and our own observations are part of that storytelling and how we really connect and engage with visitors and each other. And it's really what leaves that lasting impact and makes us stop to think. So thank you so much. That's perfect. Lori, I saw your hand go up briefly.
Yeah, thank you for that. I didn't realize that's news to me that the bridge was moved in. I had no idea, because I'm from Colorado and I'm not a native. So my comment was about the seals. I was on a kayak expedition this summer with a tour in Jenner from the boat launch, and the particular person that was leading the tour was very passionate about the seals and people not getting close. And so as we were approaching the sea lions in that kind of pool of water, she's screaming at these people on the land, get behind the ropes. And I'm thinking to myself, number one, I don't think they could hear her. And number two, the approach was so almost hostile that I thought, that's not the best way to win people over to getting behind the ropes. And so I just wanted to comment on that. I think it's so important that we approach people with the why of why we have the ropes up and the sense of protecting the seals. As opposed to you can't take your camera down there because that's the rules. So just a comment.
No, that's really appreciated on a communication level, because the how you approach somebody is going to set the stage of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's such a great point, Lori, and kind of gets to something at the very end. But I also just want to underscore and use this as an opportunity to say this is an outreach and education program to help people learn about why the seals are important, why this population is important, why it's important to protect marine mammals, what's interesting about them. And nowhere in the duties of a Seal Watch volunteer, is it written in to protect the seals. This is an interface of a human wildlife conflict, and we're not asking volunteers to, one, get in the middle of that, or to be confrontational in any way, or to enforce any rules. So we're all about the outreach and education, with an emphasis on the education, and that's what we're going to get into. So excited to learn more from Claire.
I absolutely agree. And I think even more so than outreach and education, what we really aim for is inspiration. If we give people the tools that they need to understand how these animals operate in the wild and how to respectfully interact and watch them and experience them, then we find that that's how people really want to engage with these animals. They just need that understanding, that know-how. And that is what I feel like our role as Seal Watch volunteers is to steward that relationship and give people the ability to experience this really incredible population that we are lucky enough to have in our own backyard without interfering with their natural habitat, with their natural processes, with the pups on the beach, and that we can just appreciate it for what it is. So I think that is the most powerful thing that we have as stewards volunteers for Seal Watch, is just having that ability to connect the public with these animals. And that's really what I want to emphasize in my talk when we come back from our break. But before that, I know Justin and Kathy both have to take off. So are there any other questions before we take that little break and come back? All right. And if anybody thinks of any, I know Justin's contact information is easily accessible and I can send that out. Kathy's is also accessible, and please check out that climate course. It is really fascinating. There are other courses offered through Stewards that really do focus on the environment aspect of it. There was just a really wonderful Cal Naturalist class. And there are just always programs and always classes offered that I think are really a fantastic experience. So keep an eye out for those. But for the meantime, it's 11:03, so I'm thinking we'll take a break and come back at 11:10. So go refill your coffee, pet your dog, and we'll see you then. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you. It was nice seeing everyone.
Thank you.
So Claire, I'm going to hop off.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Jess. Take care. I'm here,
Bill have
Justin.
something to say?
I don't think so. I think he took off.
Okay. I think he's just leaving. He's just excited.
Yeah. All right. Bye. Thank you. All right, so I think people are starting to make their way back. We'll give everybody a minute or so to start finding their way back to their computers. It's beautiful where I am in Santa Rosa, so I am really looking forward to taking a walk after this. I know a lot of you probably are. All right. There were also quite a few people that did email me beforehand, I think at least 10, that said that while they weren't able to make this Zoom meeting, they'll be watching the recording and will join us out on the beach on February 4th. So I think we have a pretty good sized group this year, which is exciting.
Claire, can you remind me what time it is on the 4th at the beach?
I want to say it's 10 a.m. Let me see if I have that.
Yes.
I think it's 10 a.m. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to put it in my calendar while I'm thinking about it. Thanks.
So there's that, and then on February 17th is our little social that we get together and just talk and look at some of our the specimens that we have and get a little more hands-on experience with those. And that's at the Gold Coast Coffee and Bakery, Roastery and Bakery, I think it's called, in Duncan's Mills. It's a really great little spot, and the owner has been more than willing to host us in the past, is really excited about what we do, and it's just a good little meetup. Sometimes there's live music. They have this great deck area, and it's just kind of a fun hangout day to get to know each other and kind of see what we're all about. Yeah. Was that a question for me, Lori? Okay, so I think we are about ready to get started. Um, so a little bit of the nitty-gritty before we get into the rest of it. We do typically ask volunteers to volunteer for about at least one shift a month, preferably two. We'd really love it if people could double up, like Justin was saying, with one more experienced volunteer and then a new volunteer to really be shown the ropes. That's an excellent thing to do. Our season officially starts the first weekend of March and goes through Labor Day. We will also be out there, me specifically, on holiday weekends and on holidays, because that is what draws so many people out to the beach. And that's when we see a lot of those visitors coming to see the seals and kind of spend time in that area. So that's a time we really love to be out there. But again, if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me about scheduling. I'll send out an email too. We like to have one shift lead coordinator every month, and that's one volunteer who will step up every month and kind of coordinate the shift signups and who is paired with who and that kind of thing. So if anybody's interested in signing up for that role, that will be out in an email. And it's kind of just a way to engage a little bit more and have a little higher responsibility just in terms of coordinating the volunteers. So if anybody's interested in that, I think that's kind of our outline. We will start on the beach that first weekend in March. Depending on weather, we might also start at the boat ramp, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But we have so many materials out at the boat ramp that if it's really windy or wet or rainy, then I don't want to risk the materials that we have for bad weather. So that might start a little bit later, and the ropes will go up around that weekend as well, depending on beach conditions. So does anybody have any questions that they weren't able to ask before the break, or that maybe they just thought of before we get into the rest of my my slideshow?
I do.
Yes.
I don't mean to take over. It just came to me. I'm
Please.
not okay. So you speak about the boat launch, and I'm not sure what the connection is. Is there just materials there for us to take out to Goat Rock Beach? Or
Nope.
is it that you want us to be recruited to work at Jenner Visitor Center?
Nope.
Help me out.
Well, yeah, we'll go over that. It's actually something that I'm really excited about, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But we do have a location at the beach on Goat Rock Beach, and also as of last year at the Jenner Visitors Center. In front of that, at the boat launch in Jenner, we have an education table, and that's where a lot of our specimens and some of the really cool education material that we have is presented to visitors to the boat ramp, and that's where we interact with boaters, so people that are going out on paddle boards and kayaks and might have the opportunity to go see the seals from a different angle, and we are there not to enforce, but if they ask or if they need the reminder just to keep that distance from the water, from the beaches and the pups on shore. So I'll go a little bit more over that. It's something I'm really excited about, and thank you for asking. And then Mindy, it looked like you had a question too.
I did. I think you're just going to solve my question, but just to be sure. So I just want to have a clear understanding at the end of the training, like what will be asked. I'm assuming there's a few little options that we can plug into and that you're going to go over right now, the things that possibly we could be doing. Is that what you're about to do?
I think so. And also, yes, thank you for asking. So I want to say that I'll cover all of that. If I don't, or if you have any questions, I will leave time at the end for questions, but I won't be able to see everybody's faces, and I won't be able to see the chat when I'm sharing screen. So if you have a question that you think of while I'm presenting and you'd rather not wait, which is completely fine, I would encourage you to just yell at me. Just say that you have a question and ask it while I'm on that slide. And I think that'll just help keep the conversation going and should be great. So is there any other questions before I hop in? All right, then I am going to share my screen. And this is what I meant to do. All right, can everybody see my screen? It should have a big old seal on it. If somebody could just speak up and confirm for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is the Seal Watch Volunteer Training Part 1. Again, we will be out on the beach on February 4th. So a lot of the things that I'll touch on in this And this presentation will go more in depth, especially in terms of some of the science and the talking points that we'd really like to cover on the beach when we're out there. So thank you again, everybody, for your interest. Please, if you have any questions at any time, let me know. And that's even after this presentation, reach out if you're considering whether to join us or not. And if you think I could maybe convince you, then please reach out in that case too. So these are some pictures of Seal Watch. So we have been around since the 80s. I think 1985 is the year I saw recorded. We started off as the Stewards of Slovakia, and that is Russian for the harbor seal. And we started as a very grassroots group of locals, especially women, that saw a need to protect these animals from the environmental factors that they were seeing going on. One, pollution in the river, human interaction, dogs, and they just wanted to preserve this fantastic habitat for this really incredible species and their pups. The pupping season for these harbor seals line up with the seal watch season. They'll start having their pups in February and through April, kind of officially, although we are very far north on the coast. And one of the things about where we are is we tend to get those warmer currents and upwellings or coastal upwellings and everything a little bit later in the year. So our pupping season actually goes pretty late in this area. Even last year, we were seeing some really young pups as late as August. And that is just because of the environment that we're in and the climate that we're in this area. It just tends to be warmer, and that brings more pups to fruition, I guess you could say, when the climate is warmer and is a little more supportive for them. So we do have those two locations, and I know a lot of you are aware and have been at our location on Goat Rock. And this is some images. Again, the Russian River shape and form and the mouth of it changes a lot. I haven't actually been out there in the last week, so I couldn't tell you what it looks like at this moment. But especially with the storms, the sand, the wind, that opening does change. But we typically are on Goat Rock Beach, which means that we're on the south side of the mouth of the river. And a lot of times we'll see the seals on the north side, so where it says haul out in this image. They will also come over across to the south side. I think I got a picture from some of our volunteers last week that they were on the south side where visitors could actually just walk out to them. So this is one of our locations, and we will ask volunteers to come out on the beach and interact with those visitors that are coming beachside, usually out from Goat Rock and walking out to the mouth and the jetty. And here's another image of what it looks like when the seals are on the beach out there. And it's kind of distant, but you can see a lot of the smaller animals are pups. And usually there is water between those two beaches. Sometimes there isn't. So another really important role that we have at Seal Watch is ropes. We put up ropes to protect, one, the seals from people, just so that they have a really clear marker of that boundary so that they don't cross it. Again, we're not enforcing it. This isn't a legal rope. It's a suggestion. But most people do choose to respect that. It's also to protect people because you can kind of see, even in these images, that sand cliff right by the river can be pretty treacherous. It's very unstable at times. So we do put those ropes up there also to prevent visitors from getting way too close and sliding down into the water, because that would be unfortunate. Our other location, so if you're looking at this map on the left side for me, you can see the mouth of the river, and then you follow Highway 1 up to where this white arrow is, and that's the Jenner Boat Launch located next to the Jenner Visitor Center, and also, if you're familiar, Cafe Aquatica. And that is where kayakers, boaters, paddleboarders, all sorts of recreational water users put in and haul out. And so we have an educational table out there starting last year, and that I want to continue this year, that really is to engage with the people that are going out on the water, because we have a volunteer, or hopefully a couple volunteers, out on the beach to engage the people that are coming from Goat Rock and out to the jetty and out to the sand from that direction. And now we also are lucky enough to have this position at the ramp to talk to those boaters and people that are coming out from that way. So what that looks like, actually, I just wanted to include these slides. So again, like what Kathy and Justin were saying, we're not enforcing. We are here to educate, do outreach, and really inspire the public to interact with these animals in a really respectful way and respect their environment. That said, there are signs on Goat Rock Beach that do explain that there is a harbor seal nursery on the beach. And you can see this big bolded part says, please stay back at least 50 yards from any harbor seals. Again, we do not enforce, but we can point out that there is a signage here and that this is a marine protected area. And it is really, really important to respect these animals. So there are signage and these signs out on the beach. And here's a couple, really, I think this one's kind of a humorous image of what it looks like when people get really too close to these animals. These, of course, aren't Pacific Harbor seals. These are those larger northern elephant seals, and you can tell by that huge proboscis this big bull has, and a bull is the name for a big male northern elephant seal, and it's kind of like an elephant trunk. So we do unfortunately occasionally see people abusing the boundaries that we put up and that the signage that is around the beach. Again, we are not enforcing. We can report. We can call the rangers. We have all of those resources that we'll talk about, and we have them in our binders that are on the beach and at Jenner Boat Launch. We do have other agencies that do work with us and also work to protect that beach. So NOAA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972 is the legal act that protects these animals and enforces those boundaries. We and the Russian River are at two separate marine protected areas. It's the Russian River State Marine Recreational Management Area and the Russian River State Marine Conservation Area, and they adjoin in the Russian River estuary here in Sonoma County. So it is a protected area. California Fish and Wildlife and California State Parks are both invested in keeping this area safe and keeping these animals secure and sustaining this population that we are lucky enough to have out there on that beach. We do have a lot of guides in the folders themselves that are on the beach and also at Jenner Visitor Center, and this is one of them. This talks about flushing, which some of you have probably heard of. I know we talk about it in Seal Watch on the shore, but flushing is when you get so close to an animal that it flushes into the water. So if it's up on the beach and it sees you, it reacts to you, and you can kind of see the steps here outlined. If the animal is staring at you, you're too close. If the animal is fidgeting, you are way too close. And if the animal is fleeing or flushing into the water, you are way too close and you're actually disturbing the animal's natural habitat. So again, we're not here to enforce, but we are here to inform people and give people the tools that you can really interact with these animals and watch them and experience them from that respectful distance of 50 yards and just see how they operate in the natural environment, see the pups. We do have binoculars on the beach on Goat Rock. And we often do see harbor seals swimming up the Russian River, even sometimes passing us out at the boat ramp, and their little heads will pop up in the water behind us. And it is always a really awesome thing to point out to visitors. So these are the numbers that Erica actually pulled from our reports last year. We did account for 46 flushes total, and this was on the weekends and the days that we were out on the beach and the boat ramp watching and recording this information. So 46 flushes, 16 of those were caused by kayakers, 11 were caused by beach visitors, and 9 were unknown, but the animals did flush into the water. There was a count of 29 dogs on Goat Rock Beach, and those dogs caused 4 flushes. So it is a dog-free beach. Dogs are not allowed on Goat Rock Beach. They are allowed on Blind Beach, which is the one on the other side of Goat Rock. Again, we are not there to enforce. We can politely inform if you feel comfortable. And I think my preferred operation, if people are out there with their dogs on the beach, and if I feel like it's safe and I do want to approach them, my go-to is always, hey, they do enforce tickets. So if a ranger comes out and sees you with your dog on the beach, they will ticket you, and I really don't want that to happen to you. There is a beach on the other side of the rock that's allowed to have dogs, and you won't get any sort of punishment if you are on that side of the beach. So again, just really reaching out, being polite, respectful. And if you ever feel like you're in an unsafe situation, especially when talking with people that have dogs or are actively surpassing the boundaries that we've set on the beach, it is not our place to put ourselves in any kind of danger where we might encounter if we were to interact with these visitors on the beaches.
Claire,
Yes.
I have a question about service animals or service, and I'm wondering whether you'll be able to address that or not.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm assuming that your question is whether they are allowed on the beaches. They are. Typically, they are always leashed per law. And that there are laws. I think I have a little pamphlet in our folders that point out the rules around them. And if I don't, then I can put one in. But it's basically if they have a service vest on or something, we're not allowed to ask what they're for or anything like that. That's something that we typically don't interact with, but they are, if they are a service animal, they are allowed on the beach in that way. I hope that answered your question.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Aokai. I helped with the stats. One thing to note with the flush is there's that unknown. A lot of what I was seeing when I was compiling that information is that a lot of the unknown flushes were when the seals had been disturbed already once. So that they were disturbed by something prior, whether that's a vehicle or a person or a dog, they flushed more and more because they were already on edge. And so think about it in terms of like when you're already frustrated, if you become more sensitive, the seals are the same way. So
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. And that really is one of the reasons that we are here as Seal Watch volunteers, is to, again, give the public the tools that they need to respectfully interact with these animals from a distance. And so our statistics from last year for Seal Watch visitors was that we engaged with 4,239 visitors in just our season from March through Labor Day, which I think is an incredible number of people. At Goat Rock, we engaged with 2,527 people, and at the boat ramp, 1,712. So these numbers absolutely speak, and every single one of these interactions was recorded because we were talking to these people. We were sharing the stories of the harbor seals on site, the pups. We were pointing out their habits, what they were doing there, explaining a little bit about the ecosystem and why they're so important to it. So all of these people, all 4,239 visitors that we engaged with, walked away with this experience of these wild animals in their natural habitat. And they learned so much about them from us and from our education materials, from our volunteers. So that is really, really our strength. And it's what we are here to do. So I think these numbers just speak volumes and really shows the impact that we can have on our community and the public and visitors that come. And a lot of people don't even know that this harbor seal nursery is here until we point it out and start them in a conversation. And every single interaction like that to me is just so special. And you can see people's faces light up when they have this information as they're learning about these animals. And it is such a special thing. So our mission is to educate, inform, and inspire visitors to protect the harbor seal nursery on the Jenner Coast. And again, I think inspire is the most important word there. And it's because people care so much about these animals and about the environment. And sometimes they just don't understand how to interact with them in a respectful way. So that's what we're here for. A few notes on education that I put together is what kind of has already been said by our volunteers and by Kathy and by Justin, but positivity is key. We're not here to enforce. We just want to provide those tools and provide that stewardship, especially through storytelling. Like Lorena, your story was so impactful and I'm going to remember it. I know a lot of our other volunteers and people that are on this call are going to remember that, just because we learned something, we engaged with it, and it really hit a personal note because this is our environment and this is where we live. So any story like that that you connect with, that you feel like hits you personally and you want to share, that's really what I encourage you to share on the beach and at the visitor center when I talk a little bit more about that. And again, if any interaction feels unsafe, please, please remove yourself, report it, call it in, put yourself first and remove yourself to a point where you feel safe. And you don't have to engage in anything that you are uncomfortable with. And I would ask that you please avoid that to the degree that you can, because it is not your responsibility. And I in no way want to put you in any kind of situation where you feel unsafe. So if you have any questions about that, if anything comes up, please, please let somebody know, report it, and talk to me about it after, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you. Okay, so now getting into our second and new location at the Jenner Boat Ramp. So some of you might recognize this as the Jenner Visitor Center is right behind. This is Erica, who just spoke and who put together all of these statistics for us. And right behind her is the Jenner Visitor Center. To her right is the boat ramp, and you can kind of see some families are either putting in this canoe or just getting out, and these kids came over to talk to us first, and then they brought their parents because they were so fascinated by the materials that we have. And you can see this is part of our presentation. These materials are provided by the stewards, and this is what we will have out at that boat ramp just for visitors to engage in. And you can see in this image, there are skulls. There's California sea lion skulls. There's harbor seal skulls. There's that really cool skull in the back that somebody might recognize, but it's a little tough. And that's one of my favorite questions to ask visitors. It's actually a dolphin skull, even though it looks more like an alligator skull, even from this angle. And then you can see in the corner there are a couple pelts. So I think in this picture, you can see we also have a pelican skull over here on the left side. And those two in front, I don't know if anybody is familiar enough with these kind of skulls to tell, but that's a sea otter skull and a river otter skull. And these are all local animals that we can even see from the boat ramp. I've seen river otters a couple times from that boat ramp, pelicans all the time, the sea lions, the harbor seals, of course. I haven't seen a sea otter from the boat ramp yet. I'm hopeful, but not so far. And then on this side, you can see that dolphin skull. It's actually a rough-toothed dolphin skull. You can see those pelts that we have, and they actually go with those skulls. That one on top is a river otter pelt, and the one on bottom is a sea otter pelt. And we really encourage not only our volunteers, but our visitors to pick them up, handle them, become familiar with them, see how thick that fur is. And in that way, we can really engage with visitors. For the sea otters example, the Russian River is named after those Russian fur trappers that really hunted and trapped these animals to the point of extinction on this coast. And you can hand the visitors this pelt as you are telling them that, and really have them feel how thick and how soft it is. And so maybe you can see why these animals were hunted. And we are so lucky to have these resources. There are boxes underneath these tables in this image, but we do also always have the permits and the licenses that are required to have these pelts out for display. And those are important because if you are ever pulled over with a pelt like this and you don't have a permit, that could put you in some hot water with a lot of people. So we have everything that we need, and it is such a treasure to be able to share this hands-on and really tactile resource with the visitors that come through, especially kids. They love seeing and coming up to talk to us and to touch these pelts. It's always a really wonderful experience. And at the boat ramp, while you're out there, you can point out some of the really amazing animals that we see. Again, the harbor seals are popping up their heads behind us in the river. And this one, can anybody guess who this is? This was a visitor that came to the boat ramp on a day that I was there and was hanging out and waving to us. Does anybody know? Nobody wants to take a guess as to what kind of animal?
Is it a river otter?
Not quite.
Don't know.
Sea lion.
Beaver?
Sea lion.
A juvenile California sea lion. So thank you to whoever answered that. And we will go over the species and how to tell them apart and their markings later in this presentation. But thank you so much for answering that question for me. Yes, so we saw a young California sea lion swim up the river and hang out. This was the day that Erica and I were out on the boat ramp there. And he was just spending some time swimming laps in front of Cafe Aquatica, the visitor center, and the boat ramp. So it was just a fantastic way to engage with visitors and to point at this animal that was really showing off for us, it seemed like, and just give an example of how he looked so different from the harbor seals that we were seeing as well, and kind of the way that he was moving in the water and the sounds that he was making. It was just a really fantastic interaction with visitors and also for ourselves. It was very cool. So that's our education table at the boat ramp. The other location that we are at, and I know a lot of the volunteers that have spent time on Goat Rock they're very familiar with this viewpoint. You can see on the left here, this is that jetty going out. I'm standing on the edge of where our ropes usually are, and that's kind of protecting me from
Claire?
falling into that water. Yes, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I was at the boat launch a lot last year.
Uh-huh.
And you went over a lot about the education part of the table, but what I found, especially if I was manning it alone, was there was little time for the table because your job was really to inform the kayakers about the seals. So
yeah,
if you could talk a little bit about that maybe, or were you going to talk a little bit about that part?
I was, but let's bring it back here. So you can see absolutely. And I think what I really want to emphasize more than anything is that education. So part of it is that when we are here on the boat ramp, and you can see the canoe behind Erica here. We are watching people go in, put their vessels in the water and come back out. And so what I found, it's usually better to have multiple people on the table so that somebody can stay with the education table and really steward people from there, but also have somebody going up to these visitors if it feels safe and engaging with them. And usually that conversation just goes, hey, is this your first time out on the river? It's so cool that you're going in. Did you happen to know that we're home to a Pacific Harbor seal nursery and that there are pups out there on the beach? And typically we hear no, or we hear, yes, I come out here all the time. I know it very, very well. And if they, either one that they say, we say, well, that's so great. We're so excited that you're here to see them. We're so excited that you want to engage. This is kind of a guideline. This is a marine protected area. So we just ask that you stay 50 yards back from these animals. And what that looks like in our bay is that if you hug this left-hand shore, you should stay that distance away from these animals, but still be able to watch them from a safe distance. So yes, to answer your question, we are absolutely engaging with the kayakers and canoers that are there. And if hopefully it won't happen this year, but if we do have just somebody on that table, it is typically, I think I feel pretty comfortable stepping away from it to go talk to the kayakers and the canoers. But often what I found is that going up to talk with them and then engaging with them and saying, hey, do you want to see a pelt, or do you want to see the skull that we have over here? And it's kind of a way to integrate both and turn it into an experience where they learn something either before they go into the water, or sometimes if you catch them on their way out and you can say, oh, did you see the harbor seals? Did you want to learn a little bit more about them? Did you see the pups? So I think it's a way to integrate both, where you're getting that educational aspect in and also letting people know that there is a way to respectfully interact with them from that 50-yard distance. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, I just think the reality of it is there needs to be at least 2 people on the station, because if you're there alone,
agree. Yeah.
I found the priority to not be the table, I'm just saying my experience, was because it was so busy with the boat launchers coming in and out and them wanting to talk and stuff. So I also found that the people wanting to launch their boats really just wanted to launch their boats. And they weren't that interested, but the kids and the visitors at the visitor center, that was a whole different ballgame. They were really interested. So you had kind of 2 different populations you were dealing with, the boat launchers and the boaters and the kayakers. And then the visitor center people who really, really liked the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm just saying. It's really a 2-person station. And when it was 1 person, it was difficult to have a lot of stuff out with the wind and stuff. So it's just the reality, which everybody can learn along the way. So
And I absolutely agree. My goal for this year is to have 2 people at this table at all times and 2 people on the beach, even if that means me being out there as well, which I'm more than willing to do. I really love the education side of it, so it's my favorite part to do. But I would definitely say if for some reason you do end up out there alone and you're not comfortable having all of this material out because, like you said, of the wind, or you just don't feel comfortable stepping away from it for whatever reason, my question or my ask is that you always do what's most comfortable for you. So while these resources
I
are
don't,
available,
oh,
yeah.
sorry. I don't know
Yes.
if it's correct or not, but I saw as my job, the priority was protecting the seals, and the boaters were going to be the ones going near the seals. The visitor center people were not going to be the ones going near the seals. So that's where I was kind of running back and forth between the 2. And I felt the priority was to inform the people that were going to be near the seals versus the people that were just at the visitor center. But that's if it's only 1 person. If you got more than 1 person, then it works.
I think definitely we're aiming for more than 1 person. If you are there alone, I think that choice is up to you. We are there to inform people that there is this distance. There is signage out there. But really, it's what's most comfortable for you. Some people aren't comfortable interacting with people that are putting their kayaks and their boats in the water in that way. I have had very few combative situations where people just dismissive. It has happened where we're just dismissed. So I think that decision is up to you. But as long as we keep it on that positive, not a do not go this way, or don't bother the seals, or don't do this, you can't do that, but really giving them the tool that they need. So just here's how you keep a safe distance. Have you seen or have you heard that there's a harbor seal population out here? So it's really kind of, it's up to you and what you're comfortable with, but really focusing on that inspiration through education. So if that answers your question, I think we'll have a little bit of a clearer when we get out there to the boat ramp, which will happen on the 4th, and really are interacting with the materials and seeing people come and go from the ramp as they're out there. But it is up to you. If you're out there alone, which I hope you won't be this year, then you can choose what your priority is, if it is the education table or if it is approaching the visitors and informing them of the MPA and the seal out there. So I would leave that choice up to you. But it is our role to do both. Yes.
Sorry, Suzanne here. Question and a comment. I just want to make sure that everyone who will be working the table is aware there is a taxidermied harbor seal in the visitor center that you could point visitors toward. They really like to look at that when they come in. And also, do the volunteers at both locations carry the pamphlets about where you can bring your dog?
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Okay.
we do. We do
Thank
have
you.
those pamphlets, and actually this box closest to me next to Erica that you can't really see on screen also has a taxidermied harbor seal, which is really exciting. So it's another one of those resources that we can really interact with our
Thank you.
students. Yeah. So moving on, this is what it looks like from Goat Rock when we are there, out there posted at that location. This is what those ropes look like, and you can kind of see how it's one, protecting visitors from that sheer fall cliff of the sand, which you can already see is kind of collapsing on that side, but also providing a boundary so that we don't get, and visitors don't get close to where the seals might haul out on either this side or the north side of that river mouth. This is an example of seeing some of the seals out there. You can see some of the younger, smaller pups, some of the older ones, and the really rich variation of color. And this is always a really exciting sight to see. Part of our role out there is we do record how many seals we see in a day. And I'll show you the form that we have for that we fill out when we see that. So while we're out there, we have the opportunity to see a lot of the local ecosystem. This was one of the days that I was out there, and we saw a bald eagle out on the beach with the pups, which was a beautiful thing to see. It's always wonderful to see an eagle. There is that other side of it where bald eagles have been known to prey on very young pups and very, dead pups as well. So it was kind of an interesting thing to be watching them and wondering, what's happening next? Is he there to hunt, or is he there just to enjoy the sun on the beach? On this particular day, he just wanted to sit on his log and enjoy the waves and not interact with the seals at all. But it was a pretty incredible sight to see, and it was a wonderful thing to share with visitors. And I was on the beach that day and just calling people over, going, "Hey, come look at this. There's an eagle on the beach. Don't you want to see it? I have binoculars. Let me tell you a little bit about the harbor seals and the pups that you also see on this beach at the same time." Another day was a really interesting day. I don't know if you can see this seal in the middle of this photo is a very rusty red color. And that's something that we see a lot in San Francisco and the North Bay. And that's because there's iron oxide in the environment where a lot of these animals are born and raised. And that gets into the fur, and it turns it this really beautiful rusty red color. And I believe I read a statistic that about 40% of the harbor seals in San Francisco have this color, and it is from that iron oxide. And this was another day I was out there able to just wave people over and go, "Hey, come look at this really, really cool thing. Let me tell you about it. Isn't this such a cool thing to experience?" And it was a really wonderful, wonderful day for me. So here's some more images of those ropes, a little bit more about the ropes team. We are out there. Debbie and Carol and so many people are really so great about keeping an eye on these and monitoring them. They do have to be readjusted often. For one thing, the wind batters the ropes and the poles and kind of knocks them loose, makes the ropes looser. Also, the sands are constantly shifting. So what might be a cliff one day is a much closer cliff the next day, or is much farther out. And we really do keep an eye on it to make sure that we're putting up ropes responsibly in a way that keeps our visitors safe and also the seals safe. So if the ropes team is something that you're interested in, please let me know. I think it's a really, really wonderful part of what we do out there. This is our team going out to set ropes on just an incredibly beautiful day. And this is another photo from the beach. And this, you can see, are just some really fantastic, a little bit more of that ecosystem. This was a day when there were a ton of pelicans out on the beach, which is another really great way to interact with visitors because so many people come out and love to see these birds. And then you can talk about the seals that you see on the beach as well. We do have that pelican skull at the visitor center as part of the education table, and it's just a really great place to start that storytelling. So we do have a lot of tools for the beach. We ask that you bring your own sunscreen, layers, sunglasses, camera, snacks, water, a hot drink, maybe from Cafe Aquatica or Gold Coast. On the rock or on the beach, we do have binoculars, backpack, the field binder. You'll be wearing California Parks volunteer vest. You'll have a radio to contact the visitors center for safety and if you have any questions. Camp chairs out there, rope, mallet, and fence stakes for the fences. At the Jenner boat launch, there are table and chairs. And when I started, I actually had a broken ankle, so the Jenner boat launch was much easier for me because I couldn't really get across the beach. So I was sitting in a chair behind the table at the boat launch. And I think that is easier for some people that don't necessarily want to make the trek through the sand and be a little more exposed to the rougher weather out there. We'll also have those education materials out at the Jenner boat launch. This is the form that it looks like when you're filling out that shift report. Date, time, name, river mouth, if it's open or closed, what the weather's like, how many animals you're seeing, what kind, if you're counting dogs on the beach, how many flushings you've observed, and also if you see any injured or ill marine mammals. And we do have a form and a way to report those and to contact the Marine Mammal Center, which I'll talk a little bit about more. But this is what it looks like when you fill out a shift report. So a little bit about the marine mammals on the Sonoma Coast. These marine mammals are called pinnipeds, which includes seals and sea lions and walruses. And that means flipper-footed, which is basically those animals that live part-time on land and part-time in sea. So pinniped is kind of the more general name for these families. There's the Otariid family, which means those eared seals or walking seals, and that's what those California sea lions look like. This image I took at Pier 39, which is where a lot of the big males like to hang out. And those are California sea lions, and they have those ear flaps. You'll see in some later pictures, they're very, very clear, and they move and swim with those front flippers. So they walk and swim, you can kind of see in this image, more with their front flippers than their back, which is different from the Pacific harbor seals that we see. The Phocid family includes the harbor seals, and this is that earless seal, or the true seal is also what they're called. And you can kind of see in this image, they just have little holes for ears, while the California sea lions do have those peeking out kind of flaps. And the way that harbor seals move and swim is with their pelvis and with their rear flippers. So it looks, they're not so much walking as they are galumphing is the scientific term for that. And it's one that I really, really love. And it is kind of, they just shift like a big worm on their stomach across the land. And they are pretty fast in the sea, but you can also tell that they are moving more with their middle body than with their front flippers like the California sea lion. Northern elephant seals, we rarely see in this part of the coast, but we do see them. They are the second largest seal in the world. They can get over 13 feet long. I know of a 15-footer myself, and up to 4,500 pounds. The females get up to 10 feet long, 1,300 pounds. They can dive down for over a mile. And then I have a question for the group. If anybody knows how long they can hold their breath. These are the guys that we see at Point Reyes and Chimney Rocks and Año Nuevo. Does anybody have a guess?
45 minutes.
Not quite. I should say more so, more than that. Anybody else want to go?
An hour?
The answer is 2 hours. So this animal can hold their breath for 2 hours to make those dives. They dive down more than a mile to hunt. They sleep in the water. They spend only the time to molt, mate, and give birth on land. And again, we see these animals in Point Reyes and Año Nuevo. Occasionally, we see them up here. There was one on the beach, I believe 8 or 9 years ago now, that was trying to mate with the female harbor seals. And that was very bad news for the female harbor seals that get maybe to 200 pounds. So there is a huge size difference. You can see the northern elephant seals do have that large proboscis. The pups look a lot closer to harbor seals. There's a few ways to tell the difference. They have bigger eyes. They have kind of a more cone-shaped face. And pups are born at 75 pounds. And after 1 month of being on mom's milk, they're at 300 pounds. Wow. So while they do look kind of similar to harbor seals, they don't have those spots and their faces are pretty different. And we'll see that in a minute. The California sea lions we do see here at the Sonoma Coast. They are known for being playful, noisy, and intelligent. They come in a variety of colors from chocolate to blonde. The males can get up to 7 feet long, 600 to 850 pounds, and the females can be 6 feet, 200 to 250 pounds. So that's a huge size difference just between the males and females of the species. And the males, like this one in this image that's enjoying really fresh salmon, has this bump on his head. And that's called a sagittal crest. And that starts to develop when they hit sexual maturity. So at like 4 to 5 years old, and they can grow until they're about 7 years old. And actually, the California sea lion skulls that we have on site show a little bit about how those bones develop and grow together into that sagittal crest. These guys we do see, like that image I showed earlier, the young California sea lion swimming in the river up here and just kind of saying hi. They do love to eat salmon, and as well as the other fish that we see in the Russian River and just at the mouth. The Pacific harbor seals are what we are all here for. They are the true seals. They have spotted coats in a variety of shades. They average about 5 to 6 feet. There isn't a huge difference in the size of the males and the females. The males do tend to be a little bit longer, a little bit bigger. They can get up to 300 pounds. They're born able to swim, and they hold their breath for about 20 to 40 minutes. There's an estimated population of 500,000 of these animals in the world, and 34,000 of those live in California. And the North Bay from Point Reyes up has the majority of the harbor seals of California. So we are really, really lucky to have this little population here. And they are such a fascinating little creature. In this image, you can kind of see him. He's posed with his tail up and his head up. That's almost what we call a banana pose. And that's what it looks like when they're thermoregulating. So they're regulating their body heat to cool down or to warm up and be prepared for those deep, dark, and cold dives to get their food. So here on the Sonoma Coast, the pupping season starts in February and lasts officially through April, but it's later and longer as you move up the coast and those warmer waters hit us a little bit later in the fall. They spend a pretty equal 50% of their time on land and in water. The pups nurse on their mom for 4 weeks. Mom will hunt in the water while the pup is on the land, and that's one of the main reasons that we see so much human interaction. People will come up and see a pup on land without mom and think it's been abandoned. So sometimes people will pick those pups up and bring them, say, to the Marine Mammal Center or home, or just interfere with the animal, get too close, try to pet it, let their dogs come up and sniff it. And mom is such a skittish animal that if she sees the baby being interfered with, she will abandon that animal because she can have more babies, but the baby will not be able to survive without its mother. So that's when rescues like the Marine Mammal Center come in, which I'll talk a little bit more in a minute. They eat on the Sonoma Coast lamprey, which school at the mouth of the Russian River and spawn upstream, just like salmon do. And they are here at the Russian River year-round. They do have times in the season where there's more of them and some where there are few. There's a couple weeks in fall where there are very few on the beach out there. But right now, last count I heard, like 150 were out there the other day when I was hearing about it. So they are here constantly, but their numbers do fluctuate. So to report an injured animal, the Marine Mammal Center is the largest resource we have in the area. It is also where I work. I work in development and fundraising, but I do volunteer with these harbor seals. And this one in this picture is a patient that we had a couple of years ago, Bogey, who came in just like those other pups that we see with maternal separation. So when they're separated from mom too early, and usually that's through human or dog interaction where it just scares off the mom, and then pup is in need of rescue because they can't survive on their own. We have rescued many harbor seal pups from Sonoma Coast, and a number of those were because our volunteers reported them or because Seal Watch reported them. So we have, I think, not only the responsibility, but the privilege to keep an eye on this population. And when we see an animal that looks ill or injured, we can report them to the Marine Mammal Center, and they will send volunteers out to monitor and then pick up that animal if needed. So here's my last slide about Seal Watch. This is me, but my favorite part of this is just this kid that did come up to talk to us and was just so excited about the skulls that we had and the information that we had. And I think it's just a really good example of the impact that we can have on the visitors and the people that want to come out and learn about these animals. So thank you everybody for being here again. And I do have a little bit of time for questions. I just want to make sure that any questions are answered. Again, we will have We will have that second training on the 4th on the beach on February and at the boat ramp. So all of the things that I just covered, we will go into in much more detail, and all of the materials that we'll have for education. So those pelts and skulls we'll be able to interact with and learn a little bit more about. So I'm really excited, and I hope I convince some of you to come back out with us and learn a little bit more and hopefully come out and do some shifts with us. But are there any questions before we call it a day?
I have a quick question. How do you tell if an animal's sick or ill or, in need of the marine?
That is such a fantastic question, and we will talk a little bit more about that on the beach. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go super into it now, but there are ways to tell. Lethargy is one. Sometimes, especially in this area, we do see actual physical injuries like shark bite, sometimes dog bites, and those are bloody gashes that are pretty clear even on the beach and in water. And even if you have any concern, we ask that you report it to the Marine Mammal Center and they can advise you. You can send them photos, text them, and they'll let you know what the next step needs to be.
Oh.
Yes, Lorena?
Claire, this is a totally different subject, but because we have an audience of wildlife lovers, I'm finding, just to let people know, if you know of anybody that is a crab fisherman, we're finding multiple seabirds ensnared in the individual little crab snares, not the big pots that the professional guys use, the people off the jetties. And so just to let you know, like I've found 2 pelicans, 2 seagulls, a grebe, like within a month, and that's just me finding them. So that means there's a lot. So just spread the word, you nature lovers of people. These individual little crab snares are really hurting the seabirds if they're not taken back in. So thanks you guys for letting me say that.
Thank you. And another thing that we can talk about on the beach and that we will be talking about is that ocean trash affecting the seals. So we often at the Marine Mammal Center get seals with entanglements, so like fishing line around their neck. We just had a patient that had fishing hooks in their eyes. And so we'll see all of these things. And these are stories that are really hard to tell, but they are kind of a way to engage with that ocean trash, with that pollution, with the climate change or climate that we're seeing. And it's a little bit more of a way to engage and talk about that. Mindy, I thought I saw your hand really briefly too.
Yeah, again, I know everybody wants to run outside like myself, but wanted to ask about, I don't know if other people were party personally too, or saw the short little article in whatever newspaper about the like rash of seal deaths that went on, like it was a few months ago. Is
Yes.
there, I personally watched a seal die out at near Goat Rock, and like, is there any sort of response to that or knowledge or,
Absolutely. And I can speak personally to that because that was my job for quite a long time. And that disease that we were seeing in this area is called leptospirosis. It's a bacterial infection that affects the kidneys. It's something that comes through agricultural runoff. And it's spread through feces and through urine in the water. And the ones that were most susceptible to it were the California sea lions. So those animals, it was a really terrible thing. We do see this disease spike in those warmer waters, like we were talking about, and we can talk about with climate and with ocean warming. We tend to see that a little bit more often. But when those warm waters spike, all of these diseases are released. So leptospirosis does occur every fall, but this year was a really bad spike, and a lot of our animals were being affected by that. So that's the answer there. And when we're on the beach, we can talk a little bit more about the diseases that we see. I also included in this, and I will send out an email, but a resource for the Marine Mammal Center where you can read a little bit more about the diseases that we see that are most prevalent. And we are seeing because of environmental changes in the ocean and in the land that these animals call home. All right. So thank you. And again, I know we're running out of time, but if anybody wants to stay and talk for a little bit, I'm willing to stay. And if anybody has any more questions, again, we will go a lot more deep into these subjects when we are on the beach next couple weeks on February 4th.
Great.
Next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Claire, well done. That was
Thank
great.
you. I'll hang around for a few minutes
Thank
if
you,
anybody
Claire.
has any questions. Bye, Lorena.
Bye.
Yeah, so Claire, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
I have a question, or we have a question. Jessica and I walk on the beach a lot.
Mhm.
And so during the winter, I count about 30 to 60 seals. So we wondered, where do they go when they're not here?
That's a fascinating question. So they are opportunistic feeders, which means that they'll feed on whatever's in the area. But for those weeks, they typically take a foraging journey, especially after they have those pups in the fall or it's summer to fall. And they'll go sometimes north, sometimes a little bit south. But this is a very popular area for those seals. So they don't tend to go farther than 500 miles. But they will go off to find food, to forage and visit other sites. One of the things about this area is that once a mom determines that it feels safe, that's where she'll have her pup. And once she has a pup, she's more likely to return to that same area to have her next pup or have a pup again. So that's why one of the things that we keep seeing these animals come back to this area is because it is a established rookery or nursery. So I hope that kind of answers your question, but they kind of just go around the area looking for food and foraging.
Hey, Claire. Claire,
Yes.
hi. I want to piggyback on Harriet's question because it's a really good one. Because we see them all over the rocks, like up and down the coast. And so some of those ones on the rocks, do they prefer like the sandy beach versus obviously the rocks for their pupping?
They prefer the sandy beaches for their pups, definitely. The pups can swim, but they're still vulnerable, and I think it's just easier for them to nurse, probably logistically. When they're on the sandy beaches, I can imagine, I can just see a pup tumbling off of a rock. Um, but there was one more thing I was going to say. As we see the beaches start to recede and disappear because of different climate, because of rising ocean, that is kind of a question we're going to have to consider is where will these animals have their pups and where will they survive if there isn't land like this for them to pup and reproduce on? So it is an interesting question. I think it's sometimes less about preference. I think sometimes they'll have their pups out on those rocks because it's safer. We do see, that interaction with humans and dogs. Also in Point Reyes, I don't know if we've seen it in our area yet, but coyotes have started predating on these harbor seals when they're on the beaches. So I think it's also a consideration of what's safest at the moment.
So do we have any other like little beaches around us besides Point Reyes? Are there any other like that where there's a small little pupping colony or no? Where's the next one up north?
I think Point Reyes might be the next biggest one. I believe there might be a smaller beach that I'm not remembering the name of in between here that they do tend to see pups on. I think it starts with an F, but I could be wrong. But this is one of the largest areas in for pupping in this area. Absolutely.
Now, Sea Ranch, I've seen maybe they're sea lions. I'm not sure. There, around there.
We had
Go ahead.
We had some people come to the boat launch. I'm mixing up my words. I'm sorry. Probably, I think it was like July, June, and they have a colony at Sea Ranch. But I don't know any farther up or farther south. But I know that Sea Ranch does have some there.
Great, thanks. Well, see you all on the 4th. Bye. I'm in another workshop.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. I'll hang out for a minute if anybody has anything else.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Harriet. Looking forward to working with you this year. I'm excited.
That was one of the best presentations I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. I felt like I had to rush at the end.
You really have organized things well. It's like, of all the groups that I've been introduced to, it's like I'm most excited about your group, just to let you know.
Well, thank you. I think that's less me and just that these subjects they really do that for themselves. They're such a charismatic species and it is such an honor to be able to steward them. So I would think that even if I wasn't able to make it interesting, the animals themselves would carry most of that weight. But thank you so much for saying that.
Carry the passion with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good, and I think we're very fortunate to have you with us.
Well, thank you. I did reach out to Dr. Sarah Allen. She wasn't able to make it this weekend, but I'm thinking that I'd like to do some more presentations with other presenters just throughout the year if people are interested. Definitely Dr. Sarah Allen, some of my colleagues from the Marine Mammal Center, and a couple other people that I have my eye on that really interact with harbor seals in very unique ways. So hopefully it'll be an exciting year. And thank you so much for joining and for all of your input and everything that you've contributed. It's very valuable.
And I love the emphasis this year, which is on making it a special experience for the visitors.
Mm-hmm.
I just tell them how fortunate I feel just to be here today, and that's why I come. The ocean, the seals, so to communicate to them, that's my feeling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stop and think about it. Here we are.
Yeah, it's a privilege. It really is. Just to be able to share it is such an honor. So absolutely. Yeah. Well, Bill, thank you so much. And then I'm available, if any question comes up or if you have any comments or anything like that, I'd love to hear them. So
I just hope we get some more volunteers.
me too. And I really did have a surprising amount of people reach out to say, I'm really interested. I just can't make January 27th, but I'll be there on the 4th. So I'm thinking we might see a lot of people out on the beach, which I'm excited about. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Hey, good. Very good.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And you have a wonderful day. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.